Egyptian tomb, 3,000 years sealed. Archaeologists open the jars and find honey inside. They test it. Still edible. Not just preserved, you could eat it right now the way it was 3,000 years ago. That's not a story about ancient Egypt. That's proof honey is the only food on Earth that genuinely never expires. And today, I am showing you why every prepper needs it. If you are building long-term food security, honey delivers something most survival foods cannot: storage that genuinely lasts forever without refrigeration, without rotation schedules, and without specialized equipment. Today, we are looking at why honey belongs in every preparedness pantry, what the science actually says about its unique properties, and how to use it when systems fail. The mechanisms that keep honey from spoiling are well documented: biochemistry, and they work in combination to create an environment where bacteria and fungi cannot survive. Honey contains only 17% water, putting its water activity level between 0.5 and 0.6, while bacteria need at least 0.91 to stay alive. Dr. Amina Harris from UC Davis puts it simply: bacteria in honey get smothered. Honey sits between 3.2 and 4.5 on the pH scale, acidic enough to kill most spoilage organisms outright. It also pulls moisture from anything it contacts, including bacterial cells, dehydrating them before they can reproduce. Finally, an enzyme called glucose oxidase produces small amounts of hydrogen peroxide when honey gets slightly diluted, giving it one more layer of antimicrobial defense. These four factors do not just slow spoilage, they stop it. As long as the seal holds and moisture stays out, honey will not go bad. Not in 5 years, not in 50 years, not in 3,000 years. That separates honey from everything else you are stockpiling. Freeze-dried meals break down after 25 years. Canned goods eventually fail. Rice and beans need pest control and rotation. Honey needs neither. Store it right once, and it stays viable indefinitely. What does storing it right mean? Use an airtight container, preferably glass or food-grade plastic. Store it in a cool, dry spot out of direct sunlight. Keep room temperature between 70 to 80 degrees. No oxygen absorbers, no mylar, no freeze-drying equipment, just a sealed jar in a pantry. The only real threat is moisture. If the seal fails and the honey absorbs enough humidity, it can ferment. That is avoidable if you keep the lid tight and store it somewhere dry. Crystallization is not spoilage. It happens when glucose molecules pull away from water and form solid crystals. The texture changes, but safety and nutrition do not. To reverse it, place the jar in warm water under 110 degrees and stir occasionally. The crystals dissolve. Skip the microwave. High heat can wreck the enzymes. When the power's out and you can't cook, calorie density matters. Honey gives you 64 calories per tablespoon. A gallon has over 8,000 calories, enough for roughly 4 days of basal metabolic needs for an average adult. Honey contains 40 to 45% fructose and 30 to 35% glucose. Those two sugars are absorbed by different pathways. Glucose hits your bloodstream fast for immediate energy. Fructose moves more slowly through the liver, stretching out the energy curve. Researchers at the University of Memphis found honey performs, as well as commercial glucose supplements, for maintaining blood sugar during endurance exercise. Honey's glycemic index runs between 45 and 64, compared to table sugar's 65 to 80. That means a more gradual blood sugar rise, a smaller insulin spike, and no sudden energy crash. When you are rationing food, stable energy matters, and honey takes zero prep. Open the jar and eat it, your body converts it to fuel within minutes. In the cold, in the dark, when you cannot safely run a stove or build a fire, honey still works. Picture a winter blackout. You cannot cook rice or heat soup, but you can eat honey straight from the jar. A tablespoon every few hours can carry you through a short crisis. In 2007, the Food and Drug Administration approved medical-grade honey for wound treatment. This is not fringe medicine. It is mainstream recognition of honey's documented antimicrobial effects. Honey kills antibiotic-resistant bacteria such as MRSA, VRE, and several strains of E. coli. It works through the osmotic effect that dehydrates bacterial cells, the acidic pH that prevents bacterial survival, and hydrogen peroxide production that acts as a direct antiseptic. Clinical trials showed honey-treated burns heal 4 to 5 days faster than burns with standard dressings. The anti-inflammatory properties cut pain and swelling while creating a protective barrier that prevents infection. Medical-grade honey is sterilized through gamma irradiation to eliminate bacterial spores, including Clostridium botulinum. For wound care and survival situations, that is safer when available. But regular raw honey still has significant antimicrobial properties, and in a real emergency, raw honey applied to a minor cut, burn, or scrape is far better than leaving it untreated. Honey works for superficial burns, minor cuts and scrapes, skin infections, and pressure ulcers. It is not appropriate for deep puncture wounds, severe burns that need professional care, or infected wounds showing systemic signs such as fever or red streaking. For sore throats and coughs, a tablespoon can coat the throat and suppress the cough reflex. Studies confirmed honey provides nighttime cough relief in children older than 1 year, often matching over-the-counter suppressants. Manuka honey from New Zealand contains methylglyoxal, a compound that gives it antibacterial activity beyond standard honey. It is rated using the UMF scale, or by MGO content. Research has validated Manuka honey for resistant infections and chronic wounds. It costs more, but for medical stockpiling, a small supply of high UMF Manuka justifies the expense. Raw honey is strained but not heated or heavily filtered, keeping all the natural enzymes, pollen, antioxidants, and beneficial compounds that processing destroys. Processed honey is pasteurized and ultra-filtered for clarity and to stay liquid longer. Both last forever, but raw honey delivers better nutrition and medicinal value. The trade-off is faster crystallization. If you are storing honey purely for calories, processed clover honey from any major retailer works. If you want full nutritional and medical benefits, invest in raw honey from a trusted source. Clover honey is mild, affordable, and handles general purposes well. Wildflower honey offers a broader range of nutrients from diverse nectar sources, and when locally sourced might help seasonal allergies. Manuka costs more, but provides superior antibacterial effects. A few jars rated UMF 15 or higher make sense for dedicated wound care. For everything else, clover or wildflower honey gives better value. Quality verification matters because adulteration is common. Some commercial honey contains added corn syrup to cut costs. Buy from local beekeepers when possible, check for certifications such as True Source Honey, and read labels. Pure honey should list only honey as an ingredient. Store affordable raw clover or wildflower honey for general use, plus a smaller amount of premium Manuka for medical applications. Honey typically runs $2 to $3 per pound, pricier than rice or beans, but competitive with freeze-dried meals once you factor in indefinite shelf life and zero prep. Glass jars with screw-top lids give the most reliable seal. Food-grade plastic works. Look for recycling codes, 2 or 5. Do not use metal containers. Store between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit in a dark pantry away from sunlight. Do not refrigerate because cold speeds crystallization and does not improve preservation. After each use, wipe the jar rim and tighten the lid completely. Even small gaps let moisture creep in over time. Check seals periodically, especially in humid climates. If crystallization happens, a warm water bath under 110 degrees Fahrenheit will dissolve the crystals. Avoid microwaving because it creates hotspots and can destroy enzymes. Even though honey does not need rotation for safety, using and replacing it annually keeps you familiar with the product and prevents opening a 10-year-old jar during an actual emergency. Store some jars you use regularly so you practice retrieval and pouring. Honey is safe for anyone over 12 months old. It is not safe for infants under 12 months. Infant botulism is a serious, potentially fatal condition caused by Clostridium botulinum spores in honey. These spores do not harm older children or adults because mature digestive systems prevent the spores from germinating. Infants under 12 months have immature digestive systems that cannot block spore growth. If an infant eats honey, the spores can germinate in the intestines, produce botulinum toxin, and cause severe illness. Symptoms include constipation, weakness, poor feeding, a weak cry, drooping eyelids, and loss of muscle control. This can escalate to respiratory failure and requires immediate medical treatment. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Food and Drug Administration, and the American Academy of Pediatrics all advise no honey in any form for infants under 12 months. That includes honey mixed into food, on pacifiers, or in formula. It does not matter if it is raw, processed, local, or commercial. The risk applies across the board. Once a child reaches 12 months, the digestive system has matured enough to handle botulinum spores safely. For adults, honey is generally safe with 2 notes. First, people with bee pollen allergies might react to raw honey, usually mild itching or swelling. Test a small amount first if you have known bee-related allergies. Second, honey is still sugar. For people with diabetes, honey is not a free pass despite its lower glycemic index. Moderation and monitoring still apply. For pure calorie storage, honey is expensive per calorie compared to grains and beans. A realistic strategy is to store honey as a supplement to other long-term foods. 1 gallon per person per year gives meaningful caloric backup without breaking the budget. If you plan to use honey for medical purposes, set aside extra specifically for that. Small jars beat bulk containers. Once opened, honey gets exposed to air and moisture every time you reach for it. 8 to 16 ounce jars work well. If you buy bulk to save money, transfer it into smaller jars for long-term storage. At $2 to $3 per pound, honey fits most preparedness budgets. If money is tight, prioritize rice, beans, and wheat first. They provide more calories per dollar. Once those bases are covered, add honey for its unique properties. Honey ranks differently than other survival foods because it serves multiple roles at once. It is food. It is medicine. It needs no preparation. It never expires. It can be bartered. Few other items check all those boxes. In a real severe emergency scenario where supply chains collapse, honey's trade value climbs. A jar of honey could trade for items you need, or serve as payment for services. Historically, honey has always held value. Honey is not a magic solution. It will not replace a comprehensive preparedness plan, but it occupies a unique spot in the survival food hierarchy that no other food can match. It never expires. It delivers both immediate and sustained energy without any preparation. It has medical applications approved by the FDA for wound care and fighting infection. It stores easily with minimal fuss. It does not need rotation. It holds barter value. For preppers layering redundancy into their food security, honey is the one item that performs across multiple categories at the same time. It is food when you need calories. It is medicine when you need wound care. It is simple when everything else is complicated. If your preparedness pantry does not have honey yet, add it this week. Start with a gallon of raw clover or wildflower honey from a source you trust. Store it properly. Learn the basic medical uses. Get familiar with the product now before you need it under stress. Honey has sustained people for thousands of years. It will sustain you when you need it most. Make sure it is there when that time comes.